Well, welcome everybody. Thanks for coming today. Today you're probably trying to figure out, well, how do I figure out the right price? And hopefully all of you have taken the introductory course to this, which is Assess Your Business. If you haven't, I strongly suggest you do that in in October. We're not doing it in September. And it will be posted on our website. So welcome everybody. I am Meg Herman, and I'm trying to get myself to move here. There we go. That's me, if you haven't seen me before. And I see that I have one question already. You shouldn't be hearing music now, Ms. Shah. If you are, it's just the music of my voice. So today, what we're going to be doing is helping you figure out how to raise your prices versus raising value, which is a title we used before, but we're looking at it today in terms of finding the right price. So we're going to research the price that gives you the highest revenue so that you can better forecast revenues. Often new businesses or people who haven't learned to work on their business effectively set their prices too low. They often forget leaky money expenses like bank fees, printer ink, mileage, and oh, that biggie, your labor. And many times you don't account for that labor in the very beginning. But eventually, as you grow and you hire others, you're going to have to figure the labor into your pricing. So today you will learn a little bit about how to set appropriate prices and, when necessary, raise your prices without losing customers. Tall order for me to deliver, huh? So, before we go on, let's have, I want to talk a little bit about a couple things that are coming up. If you haven't registered already, our 29th Annual Entrepreneurial Women's Conference is next Wednesday, September 2nd, with the evening before being the sort of the sing out for and awards for outstanding entrepreneurs and corporations that have helped WBDC. So if you are interested in that, you can find more information at ewc29.org. And there you can find information about the conference and how you could make best use of it. I also want to let you know coming up is our Premier Business Development Program, Plan for Profit. It's a 14-week program that helps you work on the business no matter what stage of business you're at, and helps you build your own business plan. So you do that in the presence of a cohort. It's an invitation-only program. And so let me tell you what the prerequisites are. You have to take a workshop we give called Starting a Business in Illinois, and the next time we're offering that is September 10th, which is pretty close to when the program starts on September 14th. You also need to take a course called Business Finance 101, and that's one of our online on-demand courses, of which we have 15 that might be very useful for you to take a look at. Those online on-demand courses are all free, and Business Finance 101, to find it, you go to our website, wbdc.org/events/online business education. And you will be able to find all of the online on-demand courses there. And then finally, I want to mention that we also, for those of you who already got part of a business plan written or developed, we have a business plan critique clinic. And the next one is tomorrow night. And I do them about twice a month. There is a requirement that you bring a draft of your business plan. If you don't have a draft yet, it's not the session for you. But if you do, you are welcome. That session is also free, but you need to register. So let's get you involved now. So let's have our first poll question. Okay, so you should be seeing the question where, let's find out where people are on the call are from. And only 38% of you have voted. I'm missing you. Please vote. Oh, that got somebody. Yay, look at you voting. All right, a quarter of you still haven't voted. Let's have a couple more votes in here, please. If you haven't voted, you're going to miss your opportunity. Okay, let's close the poll. And you can see that most of you are from Chicago, 70%, and somebody's from another Midwest state, and then somebody else is from another part of the USA. Well, fabulous. We're so glad you're here. And for those of you who live in the Chicago or suburbs, remember the Women's Business Development Center always offers free counseling for working on your business. And so please come and make use of us. Okay, so let's have poll number 2. Let's find out how you heard about this webinar. It's not quite Chicago. You can vote early, but you can't vote often. Most of you have voted. 25% of you have not yet. I'm rooting for you. Okay, with 75% reporting, let's close the poll. And you can see that some of you found us through the website. That's great. And some of you came to our information night. That's a third of you did. That's wonderful. Some of you heard about it from word of mouth, so somebody said, you really need to go to the Women's Business Development Center. You really need to hear about this. And then a third of you really got it from the website. I mean, from the newsletter. That's wonderful. So, so we're thrilled to have you here. So what you're going to get in this particular workshop is you're going to get 2 things, actually. As you join the webinar or sometime during the webinar, you're going to get the growth wheel tool called Price Points. And during this session, you will be shown the growth wheel price point analysis tool. And the tool will be available for you to download as a fill-in PDF during the webinar. The webinar will be stored on our website for your review, but the tool will only be available to those of you who've shown up for the webinar. And you will also be getting a framework that will be useful to you as well. So in addition to that, you'll also have the opportunities at the end to ask questions and dialogue with me. And sitting in with me, I have my colleague, Karen Goldner, who is a fabulous business advisor as well. So you get 2 heads for the price of 1 today. So at the end, we'll take questions, and if you put a question up, I'll try to catch them as we go. But at the end, we will definitely have time for questions and answers back and forth. And also, we encourage you to set an appointment to work with one of us at the WBDC if you're in our service area. And if you're not in the service area, find the closest women's center or women's business center or small business development center to help you with working on your business. Okay, so now let's hear from you again. Let's have the 3rd poll, please. Okay, so now we're finding out a little bit more about you. How long have you been in business? Keep voting. Keep voting. A third of you haven't voted yet. Oh, look at that. Way to go, people. Okay, so let's close the poll. And look at that. That's a very interesting spread. Some of you are at the concept stage. Some of you have started planning but are not generating revenue. So about half of you are in that stage, but another third of you have been in business 1 to 3 years, and somebody's an old crony established business. So that's great. So let's take poll number 4, and then we're going to move on. So we'd like to know if you've worked with any SBDC before. And so please just take a moment to answer this and we'll move on. Two-thirds of you have voted. I'm rooting. Three-quarters have voted. Come on, we can get up to that almost 90% voted. I know we can. Take a quick moment to finish voting. There's an outlier or two there. Okay, so let's close the polls. So, wow, over 40% of you haven't worked with a Small Business Development Center. Well, how come? You need to come visit one of us. And I'm thrilled to see that we have a majority of fans at WBDC. So glad. Okay, so let's move on. All right, so now what's this growth wheel thing that we're talking about? It's a set of tools for business owners, and you can use them on your own or with a business advisor, and they're really appropriate for any size, stage of growth, or industry. And they focus on 20 different areas that all businesses have to address at some point in their life. So what does the wheel look like? You should have known this from Assess Your Business, but I'm just going to show you again. The four big areas that everybody has to deal with is, first of all, you have to have an attractive business concept that will meet the need that your customers have. You need to develop lasting customer relationships. You have to do that through having profitable operations in a strong organization. So within each one of these quadrants, there are 5 sections, and so each one of these sections help you focus on a different area of your business. So these are the various areas. So here, today we're focusing on the revenue model. So we're looking at how can we better our price point. So we're here today. So think about, as you're thinking about this webinar, think about what you want to accomplish. Do you want to give discounts for certain preferred segments? Do you want to give package deals? Do you want to provide volume discounts? Do you want to time sales and price increases that make sense for your business and for your industry, and pass those on to the customer? So here's a way to begin to think about pricing of products and services and the ways to create value that can justify higher pricing. These pricing of products and services should come from different ways your company can create value for your customers and thereby creating grounds for a price increase. So here are 8 ways that you can that your customer may better hear you, because you frame the value to match the needs and serve them better. So one is that perhaps what your product or service does is help them create a better experience, so that it's easier for their client to use the product or service, or to have a better experience with it. Maybe you help your clients minimize risk, and so they can take more risk because they've reduced other kinds of risks with your services. I think about coaching in that way. That coaching helps people think through the risks that they have and anticipate what to do when they might encounter that risk. You might help your clients create new opportunities and maybe new customer bases because of helping them think through different ways to use your product or service. You might help the client sell more. You might have help them save money. One article I was reading in Entrepreneur this week was about a company that grew really fast. They made socks for people that jumped on their trampolines, and they were called Sky Socks. And I should get credit for this from them, but I'm, you know, they don't know me. Anyway, what was intriguing to me was they were they have trampolines around the country, and so they were shipping these Sky Socks to all of their different trampolines. Well, it was costing them a lot of money to do that, and so they looked into having a logistics firm do in Ohio. They were based in LA. They are based in LA, and to distribute from there. And so they hired them, and they literally saved over $121,000 in a year in their shipping and delivery costs because they hired an external company. So while it looks like they were spending more money on a logistics company, the bottom line was they saved that much money even after hiring this company. So that's a good way that that organization, the logistics company, saved their customers money. Then there's branding. So you want to think about branding as a way to strengthen your image. So branding, of course, is how you want to be known. And so you want to put a lot of thought into that. But again, you may help your client brand themselves more effectively, and that may be something that's useful to them. You also may help your customers reach their goals either more effectively with less errors or in shorter times. Finally, you know, it's all about you walking the walk with your customer and helping them with the problems that your solution can help them solve. So now it's your turn. On a piece of paper, okay, so you didn't have paper, so now go get a piece of paper, and a pen or a pencil, and make a grid or a table with 4 columns. So I'm going to ask you to label each column. One column should be the name of your product or service, and the next one would be what's a feature of that product or a feature of that service. In other words, what does it do? And then what benefit does it provide? What is the value from your client's point of view, not yours, your client's point of view? And if you've been in business for a while, and half of you have, you have some data about this. And for those of you who don't know, then you know that's where market research comes in. And some of our online on-demand courses could help you with that. And then you need to be thinking about what problem my product resolves. That is, how does my product or service make my client's life easier, better, more pleasant? And everything starts with recognizing others' needs, whether a client or a vendor. You should know this for each of these products or services and how this varies across clients due to the industry, if they're a business, and their particular circumstances. Thinking about the slide we saw before, you had lots of options of ways to think about how you can justify your pricing and add value. The key thing is adding value. So thinking through this exercise is going to help you with the growth wheel tool I'm going to show you. Again, this exercise helps you think like your client when they are searching for relief from a problem or a gap or need that your product or solution might solve, fill, or meet. You must learn to recognize these so you can walk with your client to your solution. Learning to recognize and articulate your understanding of client problems is essential so that clients get the message that you hear their pain really and are not, that you really hear their pain and are not just trying to sell them something. Selling is clearly a relationship-based process. So you should have received this tool by now. And if not, you will surely get it by the end of the session. So I'm going to go through the tool, but the first thing I want to point out is, for those of you who haven't been on a growth wheel thing before, this is the title of the thing, and you will see that up in the upper right-hand corner over here, you'll see which part of the wheel it comes from. Clearly it's from the yellow section and the third part, which is this is what that's about. Not that you need to know that, but it's helpful for you to be thinking that this has to do, that your revenue model really has to do with your business concept. So, and the purpose of the thing is clearly to find the price that gives you the highest revenue. So, this growth wheel helps you examine ways you can find price points for different products or service based on what is going on in the market comparatively regarding prices. And that's what I'm going to get to here. That has to do with what's going on in the market. I'm going to talk about that more later and come back to this worksheet later as well. Going with what I know, I'll provide some examples with the Women's Business Development Center being the company analyzed how we provide value. By thinking, you should be thinking about how you add value as I walk through this tool. When I was researching programs competitive to our premier 12-week business development program, I looked at several programs going on around the country. I prepared a matrix to compare what the competitive programs offered, including the elements that mattered to me. So besides price, I looked at their learning objectives, their activities, their materials, and their pricing. And I looked at their availability to see which ones provided the most of what I wanted, kind of like car shopping. Then for the top two programs that I was looking at, I checked their websites and I asked for referrals and to see if, how the user experience was using those programs. So then, if I were to carry through with that model, and I hope to do more of this year, I might do a price point analysis focus group to test the pricing and give the rationales for increased pricing. So I'm going to come back to this worksheet, but you're going to see, notice that they're suggesting you do this for each product. And remember, when we're talking in this webinar, whenever we say product, that also is a code word for service. So if you don't have physical products, your product is a service. I'm meaning the same thing. So up here you'll see that there are 6 areas of factors that affect the price. And I'm going to be talking about each of those next. And so this will help when you talk about the comparative pricing like I just did. You'll use this to help you think through comparative pricing and your appropriate highest point, which is here, your lowest point, and medium. And really most often you want to go with your medium price point. Your highest would you'd have to have a good rationale for why you could command the highest price. And the lowest price for most small businesses is not a way for you to survive. Think about if you sold cookies and you sold them generally in small markets, and Whole Foods or Walmart or some large organization approached you saying, wow, these cookies are really great. Could you make the cookies for the price that they're willing to pay you? And oftentimes the small new entrepreneur can't afford that. So, so let's go on. So, so what are the factors that affect the price? So this is similar to this has to do with those 6 things I just talked about. So you want to find out, what do others charge in your industry for the same service or product, and are they getting that? Or are they always giving a deal or a discount? A second area is market. So when we think about the market, I'm talking the big picture. So globally or even nationally, what's going on that might impact your ability to deliver? And what's impacting your industry? How do you know that? Again, this has to do with doing market research, and this is where a Small Business Development Center can help you and learn how to do the research and help you find the kinds of places that might be useful for your industry. So what's impacting your things? Is there a glut in the market of your kind of services? I think about personal coaching or life coaching, and I was trained as a corporate and business coach. And one of the things that when I was trained literally 15 years ago, there weren't that many coaches on the scene yet, but about 10 years later, because it's such a valuable process, many people had decided to become coaches and become trained coaches. And so then there became a lot of people that were available. So that's one thing. So, you know, if you make something, you know, when there's a shortage of ingredients, the price goes up. Think about the bird flu prices that we had over the past year and how that drove up the price of eggs, which if you're in baking or say you have a diner, that's going to impact your bottom line. Embargoes happen at the market level, and you know, I think about clients who've reported that they couldn't get their product off the dock after it was imported because there were some issues going on between the countries, or there were some fines that had to be paid, or that sort of thing. So, you know, do embargoes impact you? Then, you know, another thing that happens is civil disruptions in the area you want to sell to or import from. And then finally, there might be pricing increasing or decreasing based on the economy or the industry. Think housing prices. And so at the macro level, what's going on in your market? And then, of course, competitor prices. First, you have to know who your competitors are and what they're doing and why they're setting their prices the way they are. You know, another thing that can affect you with your competitors is who's first to market with the idea. I often hear clients say, yeah, I thought of that idea, but, you know, they made it to the market before me. And that is sort of like the way of capitalism. You know, whoever is first to market with the idea, because many people have similar ideas that crop up about the same time due to a variety of factors. And whoever gets it to market and whoever has the strongest business skills are probably the ones who really will do the best. So that's why you want to come to a small business development center. The other thing that is impacted with competitors is who's doing sales in your market with a product or service that solves the same problems that yours does. I often use the idea of Hallmark cards to make people feel better. That's one way to make people feel better. What are some other ways? Flowers, visits, chocolates, particularly chocolates. So that's a different product than the card, and it still solves the same problem that yours might have solved, which is comforting a person and acknowledging that they're important. So another factor is quality. This goes into the consideration in terms of high, medium, low costs. So when we think about quality, does your solution really merit that? And what makes you think so? And the other thing is that can people buy a similar solution at the same price or lower? You know, a lot of people do comparative shopping and they do it online these days. So how will your product or service fare in that process? And finally, the last thing is psychological pricing. And I think this is always interesting to me. There are some things that are just popular right now. So remember our dear Blackhawks. You know, we, you know, I'm not bragging, but I am bragging for Chicago Blackhawks because we did pretty well this year and in previous years. And so think about the products that people saw. I'm waiting for the siren to get by. Talk amongst yourselves. Talk to yourself. Okay, I think we're good. So think about the memorabilia stuff, the T-shirts, the tchotchkes. you know, when the Blackhawks are winning, those things fly off the shelves. And right after they've won, things fly off the shelves. But what about the next year? You know, when maybe, you know, there were a couple years we didn't do as well as the Stanley Cup years, but they're few and far between anymore. The Blackhawks, you know, that stuff didn't sell so fast in those off periods. So let's look at those are product based, but it's true with service bases too. So, you know, you've heard me talk about coaching services, and you know how many you know, life coaches there are, but it's really true that there's a lot of people hiring coaches. They're hiring them, not the sports kind, but those are being hired too, I suppose. Now I'm talking about the people that want to do, that are either changing careers or in transition, the people that are executives and managers in for-profits and not-for-profit businesses, because it's a process that really helps people hold themselves accountable, keeps them in charge, and helps them really think through an action plan that they can implement and have support during that process. So that's why I say coaching services, you know, prices have risen over the years because they work. So lastly, I want to talk about substitute pricing. And what do we mean by that? Well, can people get their needs met with something else? Think about when you're hungry. You have options, some higher cost and some lower. So you have different factors that are going on that make you choose where you're going to eat or what you're going to pick up, or whether you're just going to rummage around and find what's left in the refrigerator and on the shelf. To use the example I had before, perhaps wanting a coach is out of your price comfort zone, so you seek a different way to get help. So, you know, maybe you attend a webinar, a low cost or a free webinar. Maybe you go to a SBDC advisor for whom you've already paid taxes for, and therefore you should come and use us. So let's get back to the price point sheet, shall we? So notice over here the intention is always given first, and then the process to use it, and then the next steps. So charging a higher price for a product might result in fewer unit sales, but still give us more revenue. This kind of fits with the idea of firing bad customers and focusing better on better customers that maybe buy fewer units, but buy them at a higher price or buy them maybe more frequently. So that's one way of looking at it. So this is a way for you to look at your price. So again, when we talk about price sensitivity, we're talking about what have you researched in terms of your competitors that are high, medium, and low. So therefore, what do you think you would have as those price points? And how many units do you think you could expect to sell at each one of these price points, highest, medium, and low? And then this, the price point times the number of sold units, gives you the expected income on the price point. And so then you can start looking at that. And then we're going to talk a little bit about each one of these elements, customer segment pricing, volume pricing, or time pricing. So hopefully you have some ways now to think about pricing. First, based on what the market can bear and competitive pricings. So now let's think about your customer segments. Will you charge them the same for a small business? Will you charge the same for a small business or large? And if so, what will your rationale be? Think about the investment you make in your lead time and your sales for each of those. You could either be selling to lots and lots of little businesses, or fewer really large businesses if they're interested in your product and you have the capacity to meet their need. You need to think about the investment as, in terms of all of the things that you need to consider, the hidden costs as well. So when you think about customer segments, there's a lot of thinking to go into that. When you talk about volume, that leads us to talking about volume discounts. And this should definitely include what is usual and customary in your industry and how big the volumes might be. And finally, in terms of the time pricing, thinking about there are periods and arcs of time in any business where the price might have to be higher. Think about the cost of gas in Chicago. They're very volatile here, and we tend to be the highest in the nation. The gas costs tend to shoot up if there's a refinery problem or trucking strikes, and those costs are passed on to the consumers. So you need to think about what will affect your prices in timely ways. If demand has increased, you can make a case for increasing prices. Likewise, if you're in clothing or gift retail, you may typically have more sales at the winter holidays, but after the winter holidays, you might need to reduce inventory and create enough cash for future inventory. So those are some of the things that you might think about in terms of time. Now, hold on a second. I want to talk to you now about discount policies and things that you might want to think about. I hope your head isn't exploding. And we'll see. I'll talk a little bit about each one of these discount factors. So remember that discounts are a way to make credible different prices for different customers, and to make sure the price is perceived as good and fair. So when we talk about periodic discounts, think about, I'll give a discount because it's introductory. Many new businesses offer an introductory discount for the first time only, so people can try it out. Some people may want to do a seasonal discount. You might do discounts if you went to an event, doing what we call event sales at trade shows or something like that. And you might have a clearance sale. So those are all periodic and time-framed discounts. In terms of quantity discount, what I mean is you could discount on some specific amounts. So if they buy 2, it's one price. If they buy 4, it's another price. If it's 20, and so on. And when we talk about another kind of discount is extended length of contract. So say somebody renews with you a contract for service. You might give them another year. You might give them 13 months. Perhaps another way for quantity discount is to provide bonus product when people are buying a specific amount. Think of the baker's dozen, which is 13 instead of 12. And then maybe there's a bonus of a refund that you could offer. Then we talk about loyalty. So sometimes we want to reward people for being loyal. So if you had like a membership fee, you might give a discount at sign up, or a discount as a returning customer or a frequent user, or you might give a discount as a referral bonus when they send other clients or customers your way. The customer group segment looks at, do we want to discount for specific customer groups? Do we want to provide a profession discount? So say we provided golf balls, and for people who were members of the PGA, maybe we give a discount to those members because of their profession. A first of a kind or a pilot or a referral client could be a customer group discount too. And then there could be just simply a relationship discount, which is what we mean by that is maybe you want to have a special deal for your partners or your friends or something like that. When we looked at gift discount, you'll recognize this. This is the buy two, get one free idea, or offering a gift certificate, or getting a gift with a purchase, and buy and get something free for another person who signs up. So any of those are potential gift discount, ways to discount with a gift. A cash discount is of course, if for example, you took a credit card and somebody paid with cash. You'll often see this at gas stations. So if you pay with cash, it's a couple cents less because it reduces their bank charges on their credit card. Another cash discount is for shorter payment terms. So if my normal term of payment is I invoice you and you have 30 days, if you get it to me within a couple days instead, maybe I'll discount 5% off or something like that. And finally, there's the special circumstance discount, which is, maybe you would reimburse certain costs for your client or other kinds of expenditures. So these, you can see that a discount policy is not to be done willy-nilly. This is something you should really think about and think about why you're doing it and how it will best serve your business over the long haul. Discounts can be very useful policy, but the caveat is you don't want to discount all the time, or why don't you just set the price at a lower price? In retail, there's a reason for that, and it's, again, that psychological thing, that if people perceive they're getting a discount, even if the discount puts it into the moderate price range as opposed to the high price range, they feel like they're really getting something. So by planning price increases ahead of time, you can make sure to give customers advance notice to reduce any negative reactions to the changes. So consider setting a specific date for a price increase and decide when you are going to notify the customers about the price increase. And use this tool when you think through the reasons for a price increase. All right, so I've done a lot of talking. We're getting ready to take your questions. Before we do that, I'd like you to answer 2 more polls, if you would. So can we have the next poll? I think we're going to have the next poll. If not, you could start typing in your questions, and I will see if we can get that taken care of. So, great. So based on this webinar, how likely are you? So for this one you get to vote early and often. So let's see what you have to say about this. You understand that this is a really flexible question, right? So I hope you will vote and tell us what you're most likely to use. Half of you have voted. Come on. There you go. Okay, let's look at this. So many of you, let's close the poll, thanks. And many of you are going to use all of the above. I'm so glad because the small business development centers around the country use these tools. I would say 30 to 33 states have adopted the Growth Wheel tools as coaching tools to help small businesses. So I'm thrilled that you're considering doing that. Let's have our last poll, and then I'm going to talk to you about what's next. Okay, so if you could please let us know if you are, because of our grant and funding sources, they like to know this information. We want to know if any of you are a veteran or opening a child care business or established business in the Aurora area. Well, we struck out on that one. Close the poll. All of you said, heck no, not me. So let's look at the next section. Okay, so that's that. Now, so let's talk about raising price factors before we head on down the pike to next steps. Remember that the best case is that you've got increased demand and you may have shortage. I'm currently car shopping and I'm very interested in the Honda Fit, and they are in so demand. They're kind of like the Priuses of a few years ago, that the ones on the lot are already sold and the ones that have been ordered have already sold. So I will have to get in line, and therefore that means I probably won't have any negotiating power, and the company can get higher prices. So increased demand is really the best case scenario for you. Also, you can look at our industry price levels going up. And so be sure to monitor what's going on in your industry via professional journals or trade journals, those kinds of trade associations, those kinds of organizations have keep up with the industry and help you do so as well. Also, you may improve the quality of your services of your product, and so therefore you can demand a higher price. Inflation should be factored into your prices many times. And again, as we said earlier, reduction of supplies available can impact the price factor and drive the price up. Also, you might have increased costs of production or delivery. And you may have regulations that are forcing you to increase it. I know we have a general contractor project management person in the group, and I do think that the last three certainly will impact their ability to get the job done on time and under budget. Excuse me. So, what are your next steps? Well, work through this government price point and use the tool to help you think through for each product or service. And go back to your intent or goal. What are you trying to achieve here? Are you trying to achieve retaining more customers with discounts, package deals? Are you trying to grow the customer's success so that they then need volume discounts? Are you thinking about the arcs of time in which time plays a factor in your sales? So those things all make sense for you in your business. So then schedule an appointment with an SBDC advisor. With a certified growth wheel advisor, you can then determine which other tools you might want to work through, and to take you to the next level and to help you prioritize the many things that you need to work on in your business. The more focused you are, the better you'll be at working at the right times on the right things. And so if you wanted to see a variety of the tools that you might work with, you can go to growthwheel.com, but you can't access them that way. You can only access them by one of these webinars, and I plan to do 2 a month starting back in November, and working with a certified growth wheel advisor. So you want to make an appointment to see me or Karen Goldner, your certified growth wheel advisors here at the Women's Business Development Center, if you're in the Chicago area. If you are outside of Chicago, find your closest SBDC by going to the Small Business Administration's website and typing in your state under Small Business tab, and you'll find it. And remember, as always, the sessions, your counseling or coaching sessions are free at all SBDCs. So, okay, so how does counseling work? Well, if you're in the state of Illinois, you can meet in person or by phone, and you'll be expected to complete an SBDC intake form, and you can expect to spend about 50 minutes to an hour with your counselor. How do you set up an appointment? Well, within the state of Illinois, please call us at this number. And if you're an established business 3 years or more, ask to speak with our established business counselor. If you have a child care business or a person that provides child care business resources, or if you're primarily Spanish speaking, you should talk to our counselor, Natalie Rosado. And if you're a pre-startup to up to 3 years emerging, let the scheduler know you attended this webinar, and she can schedule with me, Deborah Miner Harvey, or Karen Goldner. And now we're ready for your questions. So I'm going to open up the questions box and see what questions you might have. So does anybody want to ask a question? So pretend we got off the phone and you say, geez, I really wish I'd asked. Well, I don't see any questions coming up, so I hope this has been a very useful webinar for you to help you put on your thinking cap about how you go about finding the right prices for your customers with your products and services. Please join us again when we have other webinars, or come in and see us. We'll be glad to help you. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.